Hello.
Welcome back to
Shut the smut up, witches and bitches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. What are we talking about today?
This is part 2 to Laura Thalassa's videos.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it.
Would you like to say it now?
Bespelled.
This is book 2 in the Bewitched series. We were lucky enough to be able to read this early.
Yes. And I really liked it. I think we were both in agreement that we liked it a little bit more than the first one.
Definite. What did you rate it?
I believe I said a 4.5.
Spice?
I think I said a 3. What did you say?
I said the exact thing. 4.5 out of 5.
Like
3 chili peppers. Like a little spice.
I should have.
Anyways, okay, so if you watched our last one, this is...
Hey!
Take it away from me.
That is enough.
She's like, I don't want that one.
Okay. No! We can be friends. Look at me. Look at her. Look at me like I betrayed her.
Give her the bunny.
Where's the bunny? Get the bunny.
Give her the goddamn bunny.
I should just sit and stare at us. I'm so full.
Okay. So, Bespelled is book 2 in Laura Thalassa's Bewitched series. We are lucky enough to be able to read this, and I quite really enjoyed this book. Like I said with the first book, if you watched our last video, I felt like book 1 was a little rushed at the beginning, but this book really hit home, I feel like, with the series.
Yeah, I flew through it. Like, I read it so fast.
Yeah.
Do you know how big it was compared to the first one?
I don't, because I don't have the physical books. I just read it Kindle.
I feel like on the Kindle versions, I just don't.
There's no page count.
Yeah, like I just read it, and I'm like, I don't know how many pages that was, but it was great.
Correct.
So.
So what was your favorite part?
Okay, well, favorite spicy part or favorite plot? Spicy part, there's a part in the forest where she's just up against a tree, and that's all I'll say. And I loved it!
Correct, because this will actually be considered a spoiler video, because this book does not come out until May.
Yes.
So, fair warning, spoilers are to come.
Yes. Plot line. Oh, man. There's some big picture stuff that I think is setting up for a third book that's going to be pretty epic, which I'm really excited about. But I loved some of the flashback scenes.
Yes.
Of when Celine is Roxolana and her Memnon, and I mean, obviously we love Memnon all the time, but I just liked some of those flashback scenes, and like when she speaks in the Samaritan or the Samarian or whatever the heck it's called, and I like the flashbacks, I think, and then all the spice.
Yes, the spice was good.
What about you?
I don't think I have a favorite spice thing, just because it was all really well written.
It like wasn't too much. No, it was like it just flowed.
Yeah, it was perfect in the scenes that she put it in. My favorite part would be when she burned down his house.
Oh shit, I forgot about that. Okay, that was epic. And he, like, Memnon loves it.
Oh yeah, he's like got turned on by it.
It's like foreplay.
Yeah, he's like, do what you need to.
He's like, that's like my freaking queen.
That's my queen, my empress. Yeah. That was probably my favorite part, is when she was like, oh, well, fuck this house.
Yeah. the part with the tree. So you pick up right where you left off, in Bewitched, and basically when Memnon right is breaks the spell,
Correct.
and she gets her memories back slowly. But oh, there is a part later on in the book when she lets Memnon see their last moments.
Oh, correct. Yep. She's like,
And
let's just get this over with, and
so he'll quit punishing her.
Yep. Look into my memories since they're
Because she
back.
didn't know. But yeah, we'll go over that later. But
Well, let's talk about it now. We might as well just get to it now.
yeah, okay, true.
With unlocking the memories.
So when it gets unlocked, you find out that it wasn't Roxolana that betrayed her.
It was their close friends and family.
Yeah, there was a fairy, and then so they like took over. They let their Romans in. Memnon's sister and mom died, and you find out that in her last moments that she's fighting. Freak, what's her name? It starts with an E. It's Eliselin? No, wait. Eslin? Eslin? I think it's like Eslin or something. Anyway, she's the Fae, but like, I kind of got the vibe that she was kind of obsessed with Memnon.
Oh yeah, like, there was
that she like wanted him for herself. So they were gonna kill her. Well, anyways, you find out that she was pregnant.
Correct, that they were having a child.
Yeah, and so that she like her last moments, she just like took everything she possibly could have and all of her magic and everything.
She sacrificed her child's life to save Memnon.
Yeah, so the Fae was gonna wake him up. What was it, like 100 years or something? And she made it so that it was like
whenever like, her soul returned.
Yeah, so like whenever and only she could wake him up, which is why in the first book she was able to just like break all of those spells.
Because all the spells were hers.
Mm-hmm. She overdid everything else. And so that was like such kind of a gut-wrenching part, I felt like. I thought that was like one of my favorite scenes is when you do go back, one of the recaps of stuff. And that's really when Memnon is like, oh my god, like I fucked up.
Yeah. So like, then he creates the vow or the bond, like that you can control. My will is yours, basically. Like anything you say, I have to listen to.
Yep. Which like at first she's like, okay, because she's not ready to be like we're soulmates. Like she's trying to be very like she finally gives in and tries to be casual.
Yep. So what they do is they create the bond, which ends up putting off the marriage.
Yep.
And Memnon is like, okay, so my will is yours to command until you fall in love with me.
Yes. And that's how they know that obviously she's not in love with him yet, is because that bond
is still in place.
Right. At the start of the book, after she gets her memories back and everything, the witches have I say Samhain. Yeah, like however you want to say it, whatever. It's like
Mayan.
Yeah, isn't it just Halloween?
Yeah, it's like
like the witches like do it. So they create this whole thing and they have this big like bonfire and they're supposed to. It's like kind of secretive. Yeah, like and it's like this whole spell circle. So they have this witch's brew that like everybody's being secretive. Her friend kind of won't tell her, and it's like especially strong this year.
Very strong.
And they say like when they're getting ready, her friend's like, oh, like you don't want to put too much clothes on because you just want to take them off. And so they go and do this, and it's like by the end of the night, all the witches are like stripping and stuff, and they go
big
over.
Orgies. Yeah. They're wanting to fuck anything that walks.
Yes.
And Celine had a lot. Celine had a lot. I think she had like 4 cups of it.
Yeah, she had a lot. Well, so then her friend ends up, they go into wolf territory, and they know that and they know that they're not supposed to. Well, at least Celine does. But her friend likes one of the wolves, so they go over there. And of course, who do they run into? Cain and the friend, right? So as they're about to get, like busy, she in her head, Celine's like, this is wrong.
Well, but first right before she had actually called Memnon over,
like waiting for him. She's like, "Hello,
yeah, come to me."
At her beck and call, I love it.
And then they end up in the wolf's territories. and everybody's senses are heightened because of what it is. The
Yeah.
witches with the witches brew, the werewolves for whatever their reason is.
It's like
I can't
a
remember.
7-day like something or
Yeah.
other.
So everybody's senses are heightened, and Kane likes Celine. Celine kind of did back in the day. So she's all horny, and he's like, I can smell it. I can smell it on you. So he's getting ready. They're getting ready to, bone. And
But she's like, it's
wait,
wrong. Like,
I have somebody coming for me.
and he's like, what the heck? And then out pops Memnon. Like, did you hear her? She said no.
Yep.
And I was like, yes. So it's like this funny little love triangle that kind of keeps popping up. And I mean, of course, like you root for Memnon. I mean, for hell's sake.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He's sweet underneath all the crazy. Like,
I want it.
Yeah.
Not in real life. Not in real life. It's not
just
an invitation.
For book boyfriends.
But
he's up there with some book boyfriends for sure.
Oh, hardcore.
Yeah.
Hardcore.
He's great.
But yeah, and then they go to Carly's favorite scene where Memnon fucks her up against a goddamn tree.
Yeah.
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 Giggity.
Yeah. It is called Shut the Smut Up for a reason, guys. We know this, okay? So, we've been pretty tame on some of our stuff. This got into a little bit more spice than I feel like that we've talked about before.
After the tree scene, they go back to her room and just keep on. They're like rabbits.
It's like erotic. Like, not well, like she says, like Celine's literally like the next morning she's like all embarrassed.
Yeah.
But then Memnon's like, I know your body, like
I know what pleases you.
Yeah, like, and shit freaks her out, but she also loves it. But they've been like, when she finds out that she's like, oh, I was like Roxy, that so of course he does. But then she wakes up and he just like thinks that it's endearing and cute and stuff, and
he's like, let's do it again, and she's like, leave.
Yeah, she's like, bye. I'm like, you're making him leave? But also at the same time when she wakes up and Nero's like, I think there's a part in the book that she's like, Nero's probably like sniffing around, and she's like, oh my god.
Yeah, because they get back to the bedroom, and Nero's there, and he like doesn't want to go outside because of all the orgies going on, right? And then Memnon and Celine come in, and she's like, I'm sorry, and he just like looks at them and like, and then leaves. And then after Celine kicks him out the next morning, he comes back and still
he's like sniffing everything, and it's just
lays on the bed, and she's like, you probably don't want to do that, and then he hops right back off. So you get that humor, you know what I mean?
Yeah, there is some like good like humorous stuff. Do you want to go back to like the murders are kind of still, there's some things still happening. So after the spell circle and everything that happened in the first book, we find out, and Memnon, like they kind of create a pact that he's gonna, because he didn't kill these witches, he just was moving bodies. So there's this big family called is it Fortuna, and so he's like low-key working for them.
He's like an agent.
Yeah, so like he's like kind of being a double agent, and so what ends up happening is they find out, obviously in the spell circle with the first book, that they're trying to force these bonds, and so he fakes a bond that with one of the
Fortuna members.
Yeah, so there's a part where like you find out that like multiple witches are being forced bonds, so they're in like
the spell circles.
Yeah, but they can't tell anybody. They're like loyal to the priestess or whoever it is, because you don't know who it is at this point, and Celine's getting these little notes, like they're getting into her room,
death
leaving
threats,
like like all this stuff. And so then there's a part where I can't remember where she's at. I think she goes over with a meeting, because after she saved the wolf in the first book, she's a member of the pack. They consider a friend, or not a member, but a friend of the pack.
Friend of the pack.
And correct. So she goes to a meeting, but when Nero goes in, they get nervous, and so he goes off and hunts. Well, during the meeting or a little bit after, he gets attacked.
Right.
So she feels it, and she's like on her way.
Yep. So like she's getting attacked, and like she can feel his pain and like his worry. Well, Memnon can feel it too. And the real good thing about Memnon is he's like, I'm on my way no matter what, right? Yeah. Like he's like, I'll be right there. So she gets there and Nero is being attacked by multiple
and it's
witches,
bad. Like,
and she starts getting attacked, and so she's got some memories now from her past life, and she calls upon some ancient magic,
like blood magic.
And yep, so she's like, take my blood into your earth and blah blah blah.
Yep.
And she like starts killing people.
And I kind of like love the dark part.
It was very interesting.
Yeah, like I loved that part of it, and I like when books aren't afraid to like do that kind of stuff. But there's also, like, you learned in one of her classes that it's just like, it's not necessarily, there's some gray area. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's like it's not always bad, because if you're doing it for the right things or this or that, you know what I mean? But it's always that constant like scale of like what's too much, what's not.
Correct. So Memnon comes and saves both of them. Well, she goes, we're gonna go back to Memnon comes, saves them, takes her back to the house, and is like, well, you can't be where you're at anymore. If people are breaking into your apartment,
Right.
like you need to stay here. You will be safe. You and your familiar will be
Right.
safe, and I will take care of you. So she kind of basically moves in with him.
Yeah. And she's in such rough shape that like she's just grateful that
Yeah,
she
she's just
just
grateful that
goes.
He saved her, saved Nero's life. So, and well, there's you can see that she's starting to warm up to him because she's getting these flashbacks, but now she's also seeing him in a different light in
Yes.
modern day where she
Yep.
grew up in, well, Celine did, right? So, like, he takes her up to the bed and she's like, "Don't leave me, stay with me."
I was like,
what I mean?
finally.
I know. So
I'm like, just give in.
we're getting the give in moments. And while she is at the house, she does find out that her burnt journals weren't so burnt, that
Yeah.
he'd actually did an
He faked
illusion,
it. Yeah.
and he actually saved them. And he's like, the reason I didn't allow you to know about them is because I was keeping them safe, because of all
Yep.
your life is in here. People can use this against you.
So like he was an asshole, but like kind of wasn't. It was a game.
He wasn't an asshole, I'll just say
Yeah.
it.
So you just like, I feel like you just keep falling more and more in love with Memnon.
Like, for sure.
You know what I mean? I'm like,
this entire video is just a Memnon appreciation.
Literally, we love all the morally gray, like, but I love the idea of him being like this warrior. Like, I love the flashbacks of that, like, brutal, like.
I want more, and I think that what would be fun, what would be cool, is a novella, which we're supposed to be one, right? Of them being together back in the ancient days.
Yep. Which, like, I would eat that up. That would be awesome.
Another cool thing I thought was, well, I guess not so cool. So as they're progressing throughout the book, Celine does get captured.
Yes. So there's another night. I love Celine, but she gets herself in weird.
She puts herself in some shitty situations.
If people are actually like, why would you stay with Memnon? I would. Why would you even leave his arms?
So we know that there's these 4 spawns that these witches are being put into, and obviously Celine is like,
when she's protective over Nero, so she doesn't want him to go anywhere at this point anymore.
Yeah, because you don't know who you can trust.
Yeah.
So she keeps him at Memnon's house, but she goes out with her friend to some big bonfire.
Of course.
And
they're flying on their witches' brooms.
Yep, they fly for the first time. Celine's first time flying with her magic. And she gets to the bonfire.
Kane's there.
All of them are there.
Yeah.
Well, Kane is like, you smell funny. Something's weird here.
Yeah. Her friend gave her a drink. So, and she is her friend.
Yep. Well, it's not her main friend, but yeah.
One of the witches at Henbane
gave her a drink, and it ended up being spiked because her friend is force spawned to the villain, the leader of the ring circle.
So. You don't know that at first, but Kane keeps trying to get her to go with. Well, she thinks he's just pulling kind of some alpha, like whatever.
I want to fuck.
Yeah, and so she like dashes off on her witch thing. Her friend kind of helps her escape, and she's clear up in the air, and she's going back to
Memnon's house.
Yeah, she's at home, and they took her home, and about halfway there, her
magic gives out.
Yeah, like she can't do anything, help herself.
She can't access Memnon's powers.
Yeah, Memnon's trying to throw things, like, of course, and then another thing down the bottom. Memnon's like, what's going on? Like, Empress, what's going on?
Yep. So she gets kidnapped by the ringleader.
Oh, wait. She drops. She plummets to the earth and breaks both her legs and is like messed up. And then
the golem from the first book, the ringleader, comes, grabs her, and she's like conveying this to Memnon before she passes out.
Yeah, like somebody's coming. I'm getting taken away, and he's trying to hurry to get her. Well, then she gets taken away to wherever the heck they're at, like some like warehousey thing, and she wakes up, and I'm pretty sure like one of her legs, because she can see the bone.
Correct. Yeah.
And it's to the lady putting her fingers like in her broken leg, so it wakes her up. So you've got this whole torture scene, which very tastefully done.
Oh, for sure, 100%.
I don't know how else to say that, but like, I love a good torture scene. Like, that's terrible. But it adds so much to the story and the plot.
Yeah. So the villain heals her completely, right? Then the villain puts the force bond on her.
Yeah.
And then the villain makes the golem beat the shit out of her.
All over again. And
breaks her arms. Like, you
everything.
And like, you can't harm this villain.
Her legs, her thighs, her like hand,
arms,
everything. Like, is punching her. Well, we come to find out that.
Hold on.
Okay, go ahead.
So Memnon is still talking. Like, I'm almost there. I'm almost there.
It was intense to read. I was reading so fast.
What we find out is Memnon busts through that fucking door, man. Right? Like, his power just explodes.
Yeah, he's like slaughtering people coming in, and I was like, yes.
Yep, he's killing people. He goes like dead silent, kind of, and then all of a sudden he just busts into the room where she's at.
But she does find out who it is before. She makes the connection of who the lady is. Because remember, they keep saying, like, when Memnon gets a hold of some of the witches, because they were compelled not to.
Well, they say Leah, right?
So they say Leah. So then, like, when she's healed, because she actually ends up like headbutting her, like whatever, because she's healed enough to like. I think she kicks.
And that's where Leah. She puts in the bond, the force bond. You can't harm me.
But she knows, correct? Maybe I'm wrong. Okay, maybe Memnon tells her.
Yeah, Memnon is the one. Memnon busts in and he goes, "What's her name? Juliana."
Yeah.
And I was like, I called this part though. I called it way before.
They're just an evil family.
Leah was a Fortuna.
Yeah, so then it's terrible because at this point, Memnon, like...
He has no control over himself.
He can, like... So we learn that Memnon has some crazy-ass powers being as old as he is. So all of these words and things, he can literally just punch it and it dissipates. Yeah. Like, nobody else can do that. It takes, like, other magic and stuff.
What he does is he, like, blows Leah out of the water. Then he puts a bond on her.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was going to be like she was going to be able to fight back a little bit, but like knowing Memnon freaking like,
oh yeah,
he's badass.
She's a bug compared to him.
Yeah.
So he ended up putting a force bond on Juliana, anyways, which I love. I wish she would have lived a little more.
Yeah. We're terrible because of all of those witches.
You do not touch her. You don't do this.
You don't even look at her.
Well, and then he kills her, which sucks, but the bond dies.
But before that, they find out what's going on.
That is correct.
Yeah. So then this is one of like the bigger picture things that like they knew something shady was going on with the family, but they didn't know why. There were like the reason that Memnon in the first book was able to move these bodies was because somebody was killing them, and it was the dad and the brother.
Yep.
Of the
Fortuna family.
Yeah, of the Fortuna, and then he was just moving those bodies, so he wasn't actually killing anybody. And Selene does ask, after they have that bond where she can command him, she asks him, and he says no. And so, and then obviously she's like, that was like a weight off her shoulders that he wasn't actually like killing people, even though he will. But this is at the point where we find out why they're forcing bonds. So they've got this whole, it's kind of is like,
it's like a mafia. Mafia with, like, it's not a sex traffic. It's a magical traffic.
Yeah, but it's like a trafficking where they're auctioning off bombs to other supernaturals, but they don't know that these witches or like wolves or other supernaturals are already being forced bond, and then it breaks when they bond with a new person. So they're telling them that they're willing to bond, but
they're
are
not
forced
willing
into it.
Yeah, they're not willing.
And so they're like, we have to stop this. Of course, it's traumatizing to Celine and stuff. And at this point, once Memnon comes in and just like takes her away and like wrecks everybody, like he just like picks her up and
Well, he walks out of the building and all the cops are there. So it's
He's
like
got her
all
in
over
his
the
arms.
news now.
Yeah.
Like that.
She doesn't have her phone because she left her phone in her room before she went to the bonfire. So she doesn't have anything.
Correct.
And so Memnon takes her back, gets her all cleaned up, everything. Like she's just a bloody mess. Like it's crazy.
But and then
Nero, poor Nero's like freaking out. So when she gets there, he's like,
oh, my best friend.
Yeah. And I like understand that, but I think like, not that this is a real thing, but like if I was in that position, as scary as it would to have like my familiar with me, I don't think I'd dare leave them alone in a house. I would just take them with me anyways, but I wouldn't be putting myself in a situation. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, but then I'm also like, that doesn't make a good story if they don't.
But then again, if it was a magical world like real life, like you don't know that you're in those situations.
That's valid.
So yeah, they get with the pack of wolves and
to like have a meeting.
Well, actually, the pack of wolves gets a hold of Celine and is like,
they get a hold of the coven. Remember, she goes into the headmaster's office and she says something to her and she knows that she's a soulmate and she asks if, and this was before some of this stuff happens, if it's okay to, because the pack's been trying to get a hold of her and they want to have a meeting and you're
right. And so they call her over and they're like, you're no longer a friend of the pack because of Memnon. We can't be associated with her. And she's like, that is BS, but whatever.
Which, okay, maybe we'll find out more. I was shocked that like the leaders of like the coven and the like some of the other people, and like you find out that like a ton of people were actually bonded, and that's why like nothing was happening. But also at the same time, some of the people that weren't, you would think that they would do something more, you know?
You would think so, but I mean,
but also that wouldn't make a good story.
Yeah, you would think so, but not so much.
Okay, sorry, continue.
So you're good. So she's no longer a friend of the pack because of the whole Memnon thing, being caught in public, and
that they think he's a murderer.
Correct.
Well,
that it was actually the Fortunas,
and they end up having to take a truth serum because they tell him all this stuff and they want to like double check that like if they're telling
the truth.
Well, Kane's obviously there because he's going to be the next alpha.
Correct. And they do find out that some of their pack is actually working for the Fortunas.
That they didn't know because they were compelled not to talk. But Kane asks Celine what happened because he tried to get her to go home that day and she had flown off. And because she's under
a truth serum,
she tells him and he's just like, oh my God, because she was tortured. And Memnon obviously is pissed. Like, where were you? Like, you know.
So, but then you come to find out that they have wolves that are underneath the Fortuna's feet. So they've now come together, and
after they find that, they're like,
"We're gonna work with you guys.
Yep.
Like you're a friend again. We're gonna help you stop this auction and everything." And then,
but they didn't agree to go with them. They just agreed to meet them there.
Yeah, that they would
show up.
So what's going on now is that the auction is going to be taking place. Well, we find out that her friend was her main best friend was actually under a bond itself.
Yeah.
And to break the bond, she got bit by her boyfriend werewolf, and now is in transition to become a werewolf herself.
So it broke it.
So we think. So we
thought. It broke it, and then she gets rebonded.
No.
I swear.
No. It did not. She thought it did. She thought it did because then her friend gets taken back by the same bonded.
I know, but I thought they rebonded her again.
No, they thought they.
Okay.
They thought it got bonded. So, her friend gets kidnapped or got taken by the friend, by the other sister, the Fortuna, and so they're like, okay, we need to go
just as
now.
like retribution because they killed
her
Juliana.
sister. Correct. So the friend is in transition with a werewolf, so she's not stable. Um, so Celine finds out that she's going to be auctioned off.
Yep.
And they're a
They're
forced
like, we have to
bond,
go.
and so they go. Well, Memnon and Celine go there, and they notice that things are just not.
These are
right.
weird. Like they're expecting them.
Yeah. So they're taking down the wards and the magic.
Yeah.
And that's when they get separated.
Yes. So Memnon and her both get knocked out by a spell. And there is the brother that she said.
The brother, the dad, and the other sister.
And there's something about the brother that like Memnon was like, and even that he just seems cruel. Like Celine looked at pictures and she said he seems very cruel. Which if you're gonna be killing people, then for sure.
Oh yeah.
So flash forward to like Celine wakes up and she's trying to contact Memnon and nothing. There, like she's
trying to bond, like wake him up through their bond,
and
like,
nothing on the other end.
I'm making you wake up, and he wakes up
eventually,
but then he gets put back under. And then Celine realizes that I'm in a demon circle.
Yeah.
So the sister, I can't remember the other sister's name, but brings forth a demon.
She's with the brother. So there's two different times. So the first time they get knocked out and wake up, they have guards around them, and the sister's on her way. And remember the guards, they're idiots, and Memnon gets somebody close enough to kind of break the little circle.
Oh, that's right.
And then the second time they both get knocked out because the sister's like, "You guys are idiots," like whatever. She knocks them both out with a spell, and then next time they wake up, they're both in their own demon circles, and Celine's with the brother.
That's right.
And a random man that she's like, who the hell is this? And so what they're doing is they're summoning these demons and they're feeding these witches, which is why in the murders their insides were torn.
That way the demons are under a forced bond themselves.
Yep.
To have to work for the Fortuna. That's right.
Yeah. And so so Celine's like, all these like things, all these puzzles pieces are going together, and so they're summoning these demons and feeding the witches, and Celine's like, oh my god, like how am I getting out of this? And so she's trying to be like, Memnon, wake up. And eventually he obviously wakes up, and as soon as he like talks to her, she's like, it's demons, they're summoning demons, which I thought was interesting.
So so Memnon is also in his own personal like demon prison right now.
Yep.
So Celine battles this high ranked demon.
Yeah.
And she ends up kicking ass because she ends up calling upon the ancient
blood magic. And
so she ends up kicking the ass, destroying the circle.
Yeah, and he's trying to tell like the other supernatural that's trying to get the bond or whatever that it's like, oh, it's never happened, it's fine. Of course she's a badass and does it.
Yep. So she breaks it, kicks ass.
She whole finds out floor the whole floor opens up, remember, and swallows them up. And then she has a small little smidge of herself that she's like, what if I just let go? This is getting really hard to fight all the time. And Memnon's like, no!
Come back to me, my empress.
Yeah, and pulls her up, and then you find out Memnon fought like 4 demons.
Because he's a bad.
She was like, oh my god, I only fought 1.
Yep, because he's a bad motherfucker.
Yes.
And then they start to burn down the building. They burn down the building, don't they?
Not yet. Remember, they still have the auction.
Well,
they have to go through.
Oh, that's right, because the wolves come into play at the auction.
But they go in and it says pandemonium.
Yep.
Breaks out. But at this point, this is kind of when
she just read the book too. I read it a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
So
they go into the actual auction, and people are running around in dresses and all this stuff. And you get in there, and the wolves are like ripping people apart. Yep. Like it's chaos. And I think in the book,
police are there. And everything.
Yeah. So finally they show up. Well, I can't remember if it's before or during this. I think it's towards the end of this that Celine finally realizes that she actually loves him. But
correct, because she says something to him, and he's like, "Wait a minute. So what did you just say?" So
Memnon gets into his sorcerer with sorcerers, when they get really, really powerful, their eyes start to glow and they start losing
control.
And their humanity. And that's why like there's some flashbacks of Memnon that he made sure that his warriors and like his empress and everybody was back, and he battled like whole armies by himself to knock them out. So, but he wouldn't hit his own people. So his power starts just picking everybody up, and at the moment, it's just doing the people that were
that were bad, bonds. But she wanted to stop it just in case.
But then he's going to start picking up like the wolves, and she can see what's going to happen as time goes on, and she's trying to be like, Memnon, stop. Memnon,
and she's like, I am commanding you to stop.
And it's not
and like... And then he like instantly paused and was like, what did you just say to me?
And she's like, stop.
And he's like, you just tried to control me. And it didn't work.
Yeah.
So that's
in the middle of all the chaos.
So that's what snapped him out of it. It was her trying to. And it not working, and him picking up like, wait a minute.
But let's talk about why he finally actually like freaking lost it. So they go in there and they can see everybody like, and he sees the one sister that is all the chaos, and he's gripping her by the throat with his power, and he looks and they make eye contact with
the Fae that betrayed Memnon and Roxolana back in the past. That was actually gonna...
I thought she was gonna show up sooner.
I'm glad she didn't.
But it makes me so freaking stoked for the third book. But they make eye contact and he fucking loses it.
Because that's where he's just like, I need to get to
boom, and starts picking everybody up.
And unfortunately,
it was like a puppet with strings.
And
yeah, that's terrible. And the funny thing is I thought she was gonna be more menacing, but she, like, Selene makes eye contact with her and she realizes that the Fae was looking at Memnon, but then she makes eye contact with Selene, and then she looks back to Memnon.
Because she didn't realize that Selene was who Selene was. Yeah. So she was like, wait a minute, wait.
Yeah.
Because, like, she had to take a double take.
Like, there's a part in the book where, like, Memnon, like, when he talks about knowing her body, because she used to have tattoos and everything. And he's like, and she obviously doesn't have that anymore. And so she obviously looks a little different, but she's still got the same hair and eyes and like all that jazz, just no tattoos. I think it's actually the same face too.
Yeah, no, I believe it. She's just reincarnated in just in the new world.
But like, I thought that the Fae was going to be a little bit more menacing. She just seemed more shocked than anything to see them.
Well, I think she will be more menacing in the next book because we already know there was already a huge coup that she was...
I'm stoked for that plotline.
She put Memnon asleep for, you know what I mean?
It was supposed to only be 100 years, and he never woke up, obviously.
So she obviously thought he was dead.
Yeah.
And, well, he ain't no more. And
but, like, when he sees her, he's like, I'm going to rip her throat out.
Correct.
He's like, when he finds out that, like, his, like, basically brother-in-arms, like, and her like had that whole coup and everything, the coup, and but you just like and then because she's the one that basically caused their child to die, like that's why he freaks out.
Yeah.
And so then like it's like this heartfelt thing, but it's chaos. I will say it happened very, very fast.
Yeah, the battle was anticlimactic.
But like it was still so good, and I think that there's going to be a bigger thing to
come. There's a bigger. This is a lead up to something bigger.
Which I also love that because I feel like lately there's a lot of books that the first book is so hard hitting, and then things teeter off, and so it's kind of nice to have a gradual like
growth.
Yeah, and so I think it's like I'm excited, but I want to see where it's going to go because I thought they were going to fight her there, and they didn't. She fled.
She left.
Yeah, she just left, and I was like, what?
Well, she'll definitely be in the next book because of us knowing she's there, right?
Yeah. That was a really important thing, but I feel like that was something to me that it was such a teeny baby snippet that I was like, oh, I'm stoked.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But then after everything, you're like, oh, it's over?
Yeah, it was kind of anticlimactic, but it was in a good way. So
I think there was more detail in like the demon circle situation, thinking they were going to die, and yeah, then they...
Well, I mean, it makes sense because, like, Selene opened the earth, right? So everything's already chaos up there with the wolves, and everything's leaving, and then they go to it. So, like, the battle kind of up there is kind of already over. Yeah. And then Memnon seeing her makes him lose control. It just ends it even quicker. So...
But, yeah, I just... This book was fantastic, and...
She loves him!
Yes! You're like, finally!
And they go home and fuck.
Yeah.
Well, not really.
Well,
because
they did a lot in the book, so it's fine.
So she goes home.
What about the friend? She doesn't go home yet. She goes out into like basically the parking lot, and I think it's Sawyer and her friend.
About her friend.
Okay, okay, whatever. Anyways, there's a moment where she's trying not to ship, like because the friend got turned into a
Yes.
wolf. So she's having a conversation, all that jazz, and then Memnon takes her home.
And they've decided that they're going to get married the next day.
Yes.
And then, dun, dun, dun.
And then, yeah.
Kane is like, hey, we need to talk now. And
Yeah.
she's like, wait, can I wait? And he's like,
no.
nope.
Now. He's like, do this for me. I did what you asked. Like,
I need you to come.
And so you're like, shit. And at this point, I'm looking down and I'm like 99% in. And I'm like, what does this mean? What do you mean?
What do you mean? Like the Jennifer.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you mean?
Jennifer
What do you
Lawrence.
mean?
What do you mean?
So, and then it leaves you on a cliffhanger.
Yeah. Well, do you want to tell him what the cliffhanger is?
Lady's got the deaf floor.
All right. Okay. So Kane is like, did you know? Like the first thing he says to her, he's like, did you know? And she's like, what are you like? And then she's playing everything cool. Like, why wouldn't you just be like, what are you talking about? She's like trying to make tea and do all this shit. I don't know. Anyway, she meets him back at the coven, and they're like talking, and she's like, well, and then finally she's like, what are you talking about? And he basically said, because they killed all the Fortunas, and he's like, how did you not know? Like, but did you know? And basically what happens is they just announced it, and Memnon got placed as the sole, like
the heir, basically.
Yeah, the heir of their whole fortune.
The Fortuna fortune.
Yeah, and it literally leaves you right there. And she's like, what? So it's like,
but it makes
it's
sense
another little, like,
Memnon was a conqueror in the past, right?
So, like, why wouldn't he set him up? What was the point of doing all that?
He just conquered, you know what I mean, another empire.
But it makes you wonder how he did it. So, like, did he get into their minds enough to be able to do it? Because you find out that
we don't know yet.
He has mind manipulation. So then I'm like, my mind's just turning, like, what's going on?
It'll be interesting to see in book 3 whenever we get it.
Yeah.
Because obviously she's going to go back and be like, what the fuck did you do?
Yeah. It better pick up right where we left off.
So
that'd be fantastic.
So. Good. I really enjoyed this book so much more than the book
I really did. The spice was great.
The spice was
but it's
well
like the
written.
Plot was really great as well. But it was very exciting, and these books were fantastic to get out of a book slump.
I agree.
Really were, like, enough going on, but not so much world building that it was like very
overwhelming.
Like, yeah. So I loved it.
Yeah, I did.
Memnon's a tease, but I love it.
I'm a Memnon stan for life.
Oh, for sure. And I want to see all this fan art.
There is none.
I'm like, somebody please.
I have not yet found any kind of fan art. It's just gorgeousness.
He's so tall. You just know. Well, I think it explains that.
Probably lickable abs.
The tongue. That was really cute.
Thank you.
Yeah. But anyways, like, we basically, everything we ever do is a spoiler, and it's great, but we just love to discuss it. And if you haven't read these books, like, freaking go pick them up.
Highly suggest.
Fantastic. So
highly suggest them.
Yeah. All right. I don't think I have much else to say. What about you?
I don't either. So.
Well, be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for following along with all of our chaoticness.
If you have any questions, comments for the videos, or anything that you would like us to read and review, please leave it in the comments.
Yep. All right. Bye, witches.
Bye.